Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Mydbops MyWebinar 2. Today, we are going to discuss on how to migrate your end-of-life MySQL servers. If you are running MySQL versions 5.5 and 5.6, we're going to discuss on how to migrate it to latest MySQL version 8.0 with group replication cluster. Here is a quick intro about me. So I'm Vinoth Kanna, co-founder of Mydbops IT Solutions, and I'm a MySQL and MongoDB certified professional, and I'm an active tech blogger and speaker. Here is what we do at Mydbops. We provide targeted services like consulting services and 24/7 managed services focused on top database technologies like MySQL, ODB, and PostgreSQL. In 4 years of operations, we have around 400 plus clients, including Flipkart, Swiggy, Yulu, Nykaa, and Dream11. Here is the agenda of today. So we are going to discuss on end of life MySQL announcements, and we're going to discuss on what versions to upgrade and what is the upgrade path we need to take to upgrade and how to perform a zero downtime migration. Here comes the end of life announcement of MySQL. As you may have know already, MySQL 5.5 is already end of life 2 years back. And last week, one another release of MySQL, most popular release of MySQL 5.6 has become end of life on February 5th. And the last version of 5.6 was released on Jan 5, which is 5.6.51. And we have 2 more years of support for MySQL 5.7. And along with this announcement, AWS has provided two announcements. One is for 5.5 and 5.6 that we're going to discuss next. So this is the announcement by AWS on 5.5. If you're running MySQL 5.5 on RDS, here is the announcement for you. So starting from the March 9th this year, all your RDS instance will be auto upgraded to 5.7. So it is better if you can able to test it and schedule a upgrade before that auto switch happens. And there is one more announcement from AWS is on 5.6, which states that beyond April 1st, no new instance on MySQL 5.6 can be created that includes all the replicas. And starting from August 3rd, you can able to upgrade your 5.6 instances to 5.7 with the next scheduled maintenance window. And post September 1st, all your MySQL 5.6 instances will be auto upgraded to MySQL 5.7. Now let's discuss why we have chosen MySQL 8.0 to upgrade. MySQL 8.0 is the most feature-packed release of MySQL. You can call it as a kick-ass release of MySQL that brings on continuous improvements and feature additions on every minor release that it does. Right from the performance, management, usability, and security point of view, we have tons of features added into MySQL that improves the quality of the product and usability of it. Okay, so you can, on the usability front, we have common table expressions, Windows functions, and improved JSON and geospatial functions. And on maintenance part, we have a database cloning plugin introduced in MySQL 8 series, which helps to auto provision node in a faster fashion, right? So MySQL clone plugin is the one of the fastest way to clone a server and bring that to a replication or join into a group replication cluster. So we have already had a very good blog explaining the speeds of comparing the speeds of MySQL clone plugin to the traditional backup methods like logical backup or parallel logical backup like mydumper, myloader, and also the Percona extra backup. And with the use of MySQL shell available in 8.0, we can able to perform faster logical import and backup. And MySQL has introduced one more feature for asynchronous replication called as my InnoDB replica sets, which incorporates the traditional async replication with auto node recovery and failover and switchover options. And we have a tons of group replication improvements incorporated into 8.0 release, which includes the messaging capabilities and transactions sizes, and everything has been improved in 8.0. And in terms of security, now bin logs can be encrypted as well. And for the configuration management, now there are a lot of ways to persist the configuration even without the configuration. So we can able to persist the variables directly on the MySQL itself, and we have a better control on how the variable has been persisted, whether it is persisted online or through the configuration, or who has made the change. All this information can be captured and made use of. And at last, we have invisible columns introduced in the recent version of the MySQL, which means that we can able to add a column and make it invisible, and we can able to plan any column addition or later time, or when we want to have a column to be added at a particular point of release for a huge table, that is still possible in the recent versions. This is also most useful when we want to add a primary key to some of the warehouse tables that don't have primary key, so which will not impact any application, but still we can able to have an invisible column. And why we have chosen group replication is, so that is the MySQL's native HA solution. We have other HA solutions like Galera cluster available with us, which is also uses the Galera replication plugin to provide HA. But MySQL group replication is a native solution of MySQL, and it does provide a synchronous replication and a tunable consistency. Because of the tunable consistency, we can able to scale out the reads effectively, and we can able to avoid stale reads on the cluster nodes. And this group replication has turned more stable and improved well with the 8.0 release. And we have the multi-writer mode capability onto this group replication. Though the MySQL doesn't recommend to use it, but we have this capacity to have multiple writers on the cluster. Okay, so, and all these group replication and InnoDB cluster is built with the binlogs and GTD replication as a backbone of the group replication framework. To upgrade your version to MySQL 8.0, and here are the key considerations you need to look after on your current version of your MySQL. In group replication 8.0, it only supports InnoDB as a storage engine, which means that if you're running with any other storage engine like MyXam or any other storage like TokuDB, it is a must to convert all your storage engine, table storage engine to InnoDB. And it is also recommended, it is also mandatory to have all the tables with primary keys. And the one of the key changes that in 8.0, the query cache is not available, and MySQL has deprecated it because of its performance limitations under high concurrency as it uses the global mutex. So query cache is no longer available in MySQL 8.0, meaning that if you're having query cache enabled in your current system for any reasons, that can be because of the framework that you're using, Magento or Joomla, it is better that you could disable it on the current version of MySQL and test the performance and make necessary adjustments on queries or indexes that is required. And as I explained earlier, MySQL 8.0 group replication cluster uses GTD as a backbone. So, and it requires the GTD to be turned on. And MySQL is getting more closer to ANSI SQL standards, which means that only full group by can be run, partial group by statements are no longer can be executed into MySQL. So, and that also comes with a lot of optimizer changes onto the DB, which meaning that like the query that performs uh, in query that performs well in 5.6 can be uh, picking up. There is a chance that optimizer picks up different sets of indexes, and some queries can be way faster, and there is equal chances for some queries to be slower as well. So it is better to perform 3 times more testing on the queries and the SQL syntaxes before we could sign off for the 8.0 migration. And with 8.0, we have more number of keywords introduced into MySQL. Some of the column names that you're using in the current version may be reserved on the 8.0 release. So it is wise to have it checked before we could upgrade. So to ease this operation, so whatever I have called out so far is a very key changes, and there are more compatibility changes we need to check. So to simplify this approach, MySQL has provided a utility called as MySQL Upgrade Checker. So if you run that, it will have checks defined on each of these parameters, and it will report your current version of the MySQL is having what are all conflicts, and is it ready to migrate to the latest version. And you can make incremental changes to your current system, and you can test again until you get sign off from this utility saying that you are ready to migrate. And here is the upgrade path to 8.0. So we have 2 ways where we could upgrade our current systems to MySQL 8.0. One is through the logical upgrade, and next one is through the in-place upgrade. So in-place upgrade, we will just have the MySQL binaries and run the MySQL upgrade script that comes with it. So for example, if you're running MySQL 5.5, we can simply replace the My.6 binaries and run MySQL upgrade script. So once we are successfully migrated to 5.6, then we have to shut it down and replace the 5.7 binaries and run the MySQL upgrade again. So the final swap will be on 8.0. We will clean shut down MySQL 5.7 and swap the MySQL 8.0 binaries. And when we start the MySQL 8.0 server, the auto upgrade script will MySQL upgrades will be auto applied. So in recent versions of MySQL, especially 8.0, there is no need to run any separate script again. MySQL will be taking care of this operation, and all this information will be printed on the error log. Okay, and this is fine, but it takes some time to sequentially upgrade to each steps, and there is a chances for failure as well. So the best recommended way is to use logical upgrade, and to do the logical upgrade, we can build a parallel environment and fail over to the new systems. And it is a little bit time consuming process, depending upon the size of the restore. It may take its own time, and for better configuration, since we are skipping up one major version in between the 5.7, it is better we could skip MySQL, skip replicating the MySQL databases. So to avoid any conflicts or messing up in the MySQL system tables. So to perform a zero downtime migration, there are two important items we need to focus on. The first item is that seamless data replication, and second one is that seamless application migration. So when I say seamless data replication, see, considering your 5.6 as a source, you need to seamlessly replicate all the data and upcoming writes to the destination, which is the MySQL 8.0 group replication cluster. So once that is set up, we need to seamlessly migrate the application without any downtime. Okay, so here are our thoughts about the seamless data replication. And say, for example, if you're running, we want to have GR cluster up and running. Um, one of the mandatory requirement of GR cluster is GTD has to be on always. Okay, so to replicate to an environment with GTD on, source should run with GTD on. Otherwise, MySQL will throw an error saying that the binary logs is not having GTD. So to enable GTD on master, downtime is required, and 5.6 GTD enabling is not that easy, or that incrementally it cannot be done. In 5.6 master and all of its slaves, the configuration has to be applied and MySQL has to be restarted at the same time. Okay, this is a tedious process when there is too many replicas present, and as we need to shut down all the MySQL readers and writers at the same time, the entire application stack has to be down, which connects to MySQL. So it is also very difficult to schedule downtime for the entire application. So we're going to split this seamless data replication discussion into two cases. Let's consider the first case. Say, for example, if you are having 5.6 running with GTAD on, so then there is very less conflicts actually. So we can able to logical restore the data set onto the MySQL and start the replication. Because the source is GTD is on, then there is no issues in configuring the replication to the new GR cluster. Okay, so there is a little bit difficulty when it comes if you're running the MySQL 5.6 with GTD off. Okay, so for any reason due to the complexity or not able to schedule the entire downtime to our MySQL servers, if you're not able to enable the GTD, the other option or other approach we can take is to mirror the traffic, or we want to use the third-party replicators to stream the changes to the upgraded group replication cluster. Okay, so this limitation is broken with the release of MySQL version 8.0.23. The MySQL version 8.0.23 has been released on 18 Jan this year. Okay, which brings one of the interesting feature in MySQL. Having said that, you can run 8.0.23 with GTID on with the source or replication source or master to have can be having running without GTID. Okay, so when you set that, what will happen is the data is replicated from the non-GTID master will be applied onto the 8.0.23 slave, and when it is getting returned to the binary log of the slave with the log slave updates on, it will auto assign GTIDs to the non-GTID transactions, which means that any further replication chain can be continued from there on, okay, with the GTID on. So this is the one of the important features, and this has to be configured when you are configuring as a slave when running the command change replication source to. Okay, so here is a little bit visual explanation on what I was discussing with the newer feature. Okay, so consider my master is having GTD off on my master, and I'm doing some writes on there. Okay, and I am setting up 8.0.23 as a replica for that master, and where I am turning on my GTID. While running the change master command, I am adding one more variable called as assign GTIDs to anonymous transactions. So when I do that, what will happen is, so once after applying to the slave, it will apply that, write that event to the replica's binary log. So as you can see here, this replica is assigning a GTID on and writing it to his own binary log. Okay, so this is interesting because we are not touching anything on the master, but we were able to get GTIDs on our bin log, which can be further replicated to the destination server with the GTID on. So this is how the actual implementation will look like. So for example, we having source 5.6 with GTID off, we will be replicating that to two relay servers, one on 5.7 and another one is on 8.0.23, where we are enabling this assign GTIDs to anonymous transactions feature, where through the relay replication, we are enabling the GTID for all the transactions that is happening on the master on the 8.0.23, which will be further connected to the group replication setup. So in this way, we were able to achieve the seamless data replication to the 8.0.22 cluster here, okay, without making any configuration changes or any downtime onto the current master setup. So one part is now done. If you are having the 5.6 with GTD on or off, we have the mechanism to seamlessly replicate the data from our current version to the 8.0 cluster, GR cluster. Okay, so then it comes the second part of the migration, so which is the routing the traffic to the newer environment, seamless application migration. So consider all your applications connecting directly to the 5.6, and we want to migrate that every application to the GR cluster. The problem with this approach is there can be a number of applications in your environment, and all these applications will have a decentralized configuration management for databases like connector settings or driver settings. So it is very difficult to schedule a downtime for all the application at once. So to seamlessly perform this migration of traffic, we can utilize the proxy solutions. There are multiple proxy solutions available. Some like SQL aware load balancers like Proxy SQL, MySQL Router, or Maxscape. And there are DNS-based routing available on as a Route 53 endpoints if you're using AWS, or you can also make use of centralized DNS. And the final thing, you can also utilize the virtual IP managed by Keep Alive, or you can use the AP if you're using an Amazon stack. And so what I would do is we can able to configure any proxy service, okay, that connects to the current MySQL version. Like in this example, I am taking Proxy SQL. Okay, so I'll set up a Proxy SQL that connects to the current environment. Okay, so when you connect to Proxy SQL, it directs to the 5.6 version. Okay, so now I can lazy switch my application traffic, connect to all my traffic through the proxy service at my leisure. Like I can take a week time or 10 days time. Okay, so I can slowly switch all my traffic through the proxy SQL, because now whether you are connecting directly to the 5.6 or through the proxy, it's going to be the same. So you can take your own time to switch all your application traffic via proxy service. And once we have ensured all our traffic comes via proxy service, then we can plan for the actual migration of the traffic. So once we have made sure all the traffic is coming via proxy SQL, then switching the environment is just a config change in the proxy. Like if you're using proxy SQL, we can able to just reload the server's configuration so that it will immediately start routing to the newer setup. So in this fashion, we can able to seamlessly migrate our application traffic to the newer setup without even application realize the switch has happened. Okay, so this is how we can able to achieve a zero downtime migration. So herewith I have given all the references I have used my talk, and if you have attended my meetup one, we had a good talk from our CEO Karthik on wars of MySQL cluster, and we have previous presentations on MySQL 8.0 for database engineers and MySQL Shell for database engineers, explaining various features of MySQL 8.0 and how effectively we can use the features for day-to-day operations. Okay, so and thank you all for attending this meetup, and thank you all for sparing your time on this weekend, and have a nice day. Thank you.